Our times sure are changing. We are exiting a season of political correctness where people were told to just keep your mouth shut and say what people wanted to hear and don't use the right words, use the soft words. Well, it's funny because after last week's gospel, I've heard so many preachers preach on it that said, enough is enough. And the opposite is actually true, that we cannot be politically correct. We cannot choose words that are simply soft if it doesn't get the point across, if those soft words do not allow someone to know the truth. So the gospel, and I read it here, was from Ezekiel 33, beginning with 7. And it says, "You, son of man, I have appointed watchmen for the house of Israel. When you hear me say anything, you shall warn them for me. If I tell a wicked man that he shall surely die, and you do not speak out to dissuade the wicked man from his way, he, the wicked man, shall die for his guilt, but I will hold you responsible for his death. But if you warn the wicked man, trying to turn him from his way, and he refuses to turn from his way, well, he shall surely die from his guilt, but you shall save yourself." God did not mince words there. God was very, very clear. We are going to see wicked men, wicked women doing things that are evil, and our society is filled with people saying, don't judge, don't tell people. Who are you to judge? Well, that's one of Satan's really sly tactics, because he tries to say that speaking out against something evil is judging. It's not. Only God can judge your heart. But we are required as the body of Christ to speak out against wicked things we've seen. And so we've just gone a good 50 years where people started accepting absolutely sinful behaviors. Think about the sin of sodomy. It's considered one of the sins that cries out for vengeance. And in 2015, it was made legal and even celebrated. And now laws are being made that if you do not celebrate that you could go to jail, you could be prosecuted. Think about the people having abortions. And we say we want to accompany them. I know how tough it is to be pregnant and unmarried. I was there. I considered an abortion, but I had not one, but 3, technically 4 if you count my grandma, people tell me that is wrong. That is a sin. Do not kill your child. I knew it anyway. But they saved their souls when they spoke out against what would have been my sin. We see so many people that we love, and you know the argument, oh, they're good people. That is such a lame argument, you guys. Who are we going to look at out here and say they're not good people? This man that you think is a good person, he's a good husband, is hated by his ex-wife, who's going to say he's a bad person. Who's good, who's bad? We're all flesh. We're all spirit. We're all good and bad. But we all sin, and we are responsible. We are required to speak out and tell them it is a sin, or God is going to hold us responsible. He's going to hold you responsible. That will be part of your judgment. So we have got to get out of this time where we care only what other people think. Who cares? There are people right now that hate your guts. There are people right now that if you died, they wouldn't even care. But there are people that love you. And there are people that respect you. And you know what? None of that matters. All that matters is that God approves of you. Every day, you see someone who's same-sex attracted. Again, the church teaches it's not a sin to have those attractions. It's a sin to act on it. It's not a sin to be tempted to pornography. It's a sin to act on it. It's not a sin to consider self-pleasuring, but it's a sin to act on it. You know that. But we are now in this day and age in a society that no longer fulfills this gospel. It does not tell people when they're doing something wrong. And further, like I said, you're penalized if you do. Well, you can no longer care about man's laws because things are changing right now. The world is going crazy. Protestants, Christians, Catholics, Jews are all seeing something is about to happen. And we need to be right with God. I just talked to a beautiful, beautiful woman who cried her face off. She's in a same-sex so-called marriage, and the Lord has really been speaking to her. And she realized that she can't live like that. She's living outside of God's will. And so she's brokenhearted because she had to tell her partner. And her partner is going to be hurt. I empathized with her. I first commended her for listening to God first. It is going to hurt the other person in this world, in the natural. But it is going to save her soul. The soul of this young lady who's decided to step out of an immoral lifestyle to please God instead. It is going to bless this young woman who has to tell this other woman, her best friend, that they can't live this way and risk hurting that person who's not yet where she is spiritually. One of the things I said to her is, but it is better that she hurts here on earth and has this opportunity for heaven. Regardless of what she chooses, you will not be held responsible for her guilt because you said something. This isn't about judgment, guys. We are all walking on this journey, the narrow path or the broad path. We're not walking it alone. We are responsible. If I presume myself to be on the narrow path, then I see someone on the broad path. It is my job to say, that's the broad path. Don't go that way. That's wrong. Come on this path. The option after that is up to them. But so hard in this gospel, we hear all the time about don't do what's wrong, don't sin, don't do this, don't do that. This gospel is saying above and beyond your own sins. If there's nothing clearer than this saying, you must tell someone what they're doing wrong. If you have a child who's in a fake second marriage, they were married once and they left that marriage. This new thing, this new contract that they call a second marriage is not a second marriage. I am persecuted all the time for this biblical teaching. I get it. I don't like it. I may act like I got a video here and I do all these talks. It's just so easy for me. It's hard as hell. It is hard because half the people I tell it to, I love very much. But I have to tell them, oh, Christine, you went to so-and-so's fake second wedding. And I said, yeah, I know. And I didn't know back then. But now I do. And I can never go to another fake second marriage again. Because it's not a marriage. I don't want that person in a state of legalized adultery. I don't. And if I'm the only one that doesn't go to my niece's wedding or my nephew's wedding or my daughter's wedding, and everybody else does, and they judge me, it'll hurt. But only for a while. Because when I die and I pray God, he finds mercy and brings me to heaven, I will have 10 million, billion, quadrillion, as my grandson says, years. And when I've been in heaven, for a million years. Think about it, a million. This short 80 years that I was down here would be like, oh my gosh, I made it. It was a blip in time. I can take the hit. You can take the hit. Worse things have happened to you. You've been hit, you've been hurt, you've fallen down, you've broken a leg, you've had cancer. You did it. You can handle someone thinking you're judgmental or an evil person for telling someone to exit legalized adultery, for telling someone not to be in a same-sex attracted relationship, for someone to tell the other person that just because you feel like a man doesn't make you any less the woman you were born. You are made in the image and likeness of God. You are loved by God and by me. But I can't. I'd rather you hate me and go to heaven than God be upset that I didn't tell you the truth. Read the Gospels, but internalize them and be willing to do what's hard. We are at or near the end. I am not God, and he never gave me his calendar, but he said in the Bible, look at the signs. When there are clouds, you know a storm is coming. I see so many clouds. And when there's 48,000 different Protestant religions, one Catholic church, and they and the Catholics and the Jews are all saying something's happening, now is the time to set things right. Now is the time to no longer tell your granddaughter that she's a he. Now is the time to no longer tell your daughter in that fake second marriage that that's her husband. You may like the boyfriend or the fake second husband more than you like the real husband, the first, the covenant spouse. I know that's a case for me and some people I know, but it's irrelevant. That first spouse is her one and only spouse. And so I'm just going to do as it says. And I'm going to tell the wicked man what they're doing is wrong. And whether or not they choose heaven or hell, that's on them. I, for one, will not be responsible, nor should you. Tough message today. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. Take it to heart. But remember still to live your life sunny side up.